and welcome back to the House of the STAG podcast. Today we're joined by none other than Gavin Spokes, aka Lord Lyonel Strong. How you doing, mate?
Good day. Yeah, very well, mate. Yeah, well done. Yes, I like you calling me mate. That's nice. Yeah, I'm all right, thank you, buddy. You?
Oh, doing great. Yeah.
Good.
So let's just start with the very first question, and I wanted to know what was the casting process like, and how did you react when you found out that you got the role?
It was a very quick casting process for me, actually. Some of the other guys have been auditioning for months and months and months, but I got a self-tape come in middle of March 2021 and sent the self-tape off, and then 4 days later got a few emails from my agent saying, have you got any pictures of you with a beard? Can you ride a horse? I was like, I think I know where this is going. And then I got a recall for a Zoom meeting with the casting director, which was about an hour long, and I did some biggish scenes from previous Thrones episodes where the names are all changed and stuff. And then I thought, well, that if it goes any further, I'll have to probably meet Miguel and Ryan, the showrunners. But I didn't. I got offered it 2 days later.
Oh wow!
So it was really quick turnaround, and then I was on the back of a horse by the end of April. So yeah, it was great. I was in rehearsals in the middle of April. I started rehearsals in the middle of April.
So which characters did you speak for from Game of Thrones?
Well, and in the script, I couldn't tell you, but they just told me they were previous series. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Ned Stark stuff from series 1, but having not watched series 1 for a long time, I could be wrong. But they change it around, because you don't really know what character you're reading for until you get the offer. Then you get the scripts come through.
So what was the first thing you did when you found out?
I was having a COVID test.
Oh wow!
For quite. I was having a COVID test, and I was waiting for the result in my car, and my agent called, and the first thing he just said was, "It's an offer." And I said, "What's an offer?" And he said, "House of the Dragon's an offer." And I was like, "What? Really?" And he said, "Yeah, it's just an offer." And we both just started crying. So that was
oh wow!
It was quite exciting.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, it was. It was like a little. I've been a very lucky boy. I've had a very good career, but jobs like this don't come along very often.
Oh man, that's awesome.
It was great.
So we know this is like the production is like very, very secretive, and anything is sort of kept from you until like the last moment. So while you're preparing for that role, obviously an actor, before production, you analyze the script, you get into the character's mind. Considering how secretive all that is, how does that affect the way you approach it before getting on set?
Well, luckily you're given access to all of the scripts you're in on House of the Dragon. There is an issue on some productions where you can only have it online, and you have to log in to read all the scripts, which is just not very accommodating if you are trying to do that work and prepare. But these guys they were different. They gave us paper copies and they trusted us, and we were allowed to take the scripts home. So I got all of my 6 scripts probably within about 4 weeks. I got them online before then, so I could read through and see what happens to the character. I mean, I'd already been told what happened to the character when I had my final audition. So we get I think on Dragons we get more prep time than you do on some other shows where I know that the scripts don't get dropped to them until like the week before, and I don't know how you can play something without knowing the end game. You know what I mean? There is a way you can do that, but if your character ultimately has the ultimate objective to, let's use a Thrones analogy of taking the Iron Throne, I don't know how you can't not play that from the start if you didn't know. It's a hard thing to sort of manufacture in your head. But, we were lucky we got to know the scripts. I mean, the scripts did change. There were scenes that were changed and lines that were changed. We reshot some stuff. But ultimately, you know where you're going. You know what your end game is. Which isn't the same on like a Star Wars or Marvel, where you don't get anything. you just turn up and you're like, oh, I'm a stormtrooper. Okay.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that as well because you've been in Andor.
Yeah, I was in Andor more, and then I watched it, and I'm in it far less. It was one of those jobs, and I accepted it, and then I turned up to shoot, and like I think nearly all the script I was offered was gone. It was a nice little scene about pissing in stormtroopers' food and stuff, and then it all gone until I shot it. So but it's nice. I mean, who's going to say no to being in Star Wars?
Oh yeah. Oh man, I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool, and he gets called Tennock. I mean, he's just a chef. So fundamentally, I could have just been an SA, but he calls me by my name. So maybe there'll be life for Tennock. Yeah, maybe he's in series 2.
Yeah,
I haven't had an offer yet. But...
Rooting for you.
Yeah.
So, what is the most surprising thing about working on House of the Dragon? Did anything surprise you?
The attention to detail. Actually, not that I didn't think it would be, but the length that the production goes to recreate a world that is ultimately imagined, but also based in a reality. So in terms of props and costume and lighting and set design, you know, the absolute minutiae of your costume and the detail and the embroidery and things like that, I was just blown off the scale at how exquisite and how much love and care and attention is put into that. And I think that was the most surprising thing I found.
Yeah. So there's so much like discourse now on that about the sort of deleted scenes and the alternate cuts and stuff like that. Are there any big deleted scenes that you were in that did not make the final cut?
No, not. There's a couple of tiny parts of scenes that have gone, but nothing crucial. I don't think there really is. There might be a couple of deleted scenes from other characters, but I wouldn't. I'd have to go back through scripts and have a look, but I don't think there was a huge amount cut, because what they tend to do is they like on big productions like The Crown and stuff. These big producers will overshoot stuff. So they'll have a scene would maybe be on the page 2 to 3 pages, and actually on screen what you get maybe is 1 page, because they want the coverage. They want it to make it look as sexy and as detailed and specific as they can, which is a credit to them. You know, it really is. But they've got the money to do it, so it's all swings and whistles and bells and roundabouts.
Another thing that sparked a bit of debate was the pacing of the show in general. Is there a particular side of Lyonel Strong's character that you wish they would have explored?
Not dying would have been. Yeah, I mean, there's a 10-year gap where I'm Hand of the King, which would have been nice to had a little bit of that 10-year jump would have been nice to explore. But I mean, I don't know how they would have got around that. I think either they would have had to have started the series in episode 1 with Rhaenyra and Alicent already at each other's throats, and then you won't care for each of those families and those sides of the story and those two characters. So you have to have 5 eps of 2 girls growing up, being best friends fundamentally, and then them gradually falling apart. One of them betrays the other. It all gets taken over by patriarchy and typical sexist men doing what the hell they want. So I think the pacing really had to be done in that way to build up the relationship of those two, because otherwise going through into series 2 and whatever happens next, you won't get those payoffs unless you'd had that slow burn of what happens with particularly those 2 girls.
Which is also the thing, like, this is not a normal novel. It's a history book, and of course they are already fleshed out. You know what you're getting, and in the TV show you have to build towards that. So I never really understood that debate, but it is what it is.
Well, you can't please all the people. It's like, you know, I don't even want to get into the debate, but what happened in series 8 with Thrones, it's like, you know, you're never going to please everybody, and they they didn't go out to piss people off.
Yeah.
They're doing what they believe is best, and it might not please some people. And you've got diehard fans of the books who feel one way. You've got diehard fans of the series who feel another. You've got some that are just obsessed with the characters and the actors, and others are just like, yeah, this is great TV. I loved it, And it's you're not going to please everybody, but all I do know from having been on the inside of that world now is that everybody just really cares and they want to make the best thing they can.
Yeah, for sure. Let's continue with the fan questions.
So, Betrayed King asks, did you go to a galaxy far, far away to distress off spending so much time around the Welsh on the House of the Dragon set?
I like that. That's great. That's a great question. However, I shot Star Wars before I shot House of the Dragon.
Oh, wow.
So, I shot that I think in April 2021.
Wow.
Yeah, so that shows you how far Star Wars world they're shooting stuff all the time. Like there's galaxies far, far away and long, long time ago that have been shot a long time ago and still waiting to come out probably. But no, I mean, I was very excited that I'd got Star Wars because I was in a show in London and I was expecting to go back to that after the pandemic. And luckily, House of the Dragon came along, but I'd fitted in this nice episode of Star Wars and a couple of tellies and films. And I was happily going to go back to Hamilton, the musical, and then I got a House of the Dragon, so I couldn't. So I was just very happy to be in an episode of Star Wars. I mean, incredible.
How far apart was the announcement to you that you were going to be in Star Wars and House of the Dragon? How many months was that apart?
The announcement? Well, I wasn't allowed to say anything about Star Wars, and I mean, I told a few friends until it airs. You sign so many NDAs for that until you air in that, you can't say you're in it. So, and then I was announced for House of the Dragon in September 21. Yeah, September 21 when I got announced for it, or October 21 while we were still shooting. I was like in the second phase of the casting announcement for that.
Oh, we already knew.
Some
of us already knew.
You'd already found it. Yeah. There was some pictures, wasn't there? I think online.
With you and Ryan.
Yeah, that's it, on the horses. Yeah. It's amazing how some people can work it out, and they do it by following the Instagram followers and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, there's one big one, and he has a question for you later on. The Dragon Demands, he's a specialist when it comes to that.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah. The next question is by Martin Alejandro. What role would Lyonel Strong play if he had lived during the events of the original show Game of Thrones? Would he be like Ned Stark or more like Tywin?
I think he's more of a Ned, isn't he? He's not a battler like Ned. He doesn't raise the sword as much, but his moral compass is very straight. I think he sees things far more black and white, probably even more so than Ned. I think Ned could see the grey and found it difficult to navigate sometimes. I think when he was in the north, when he was just up there looking after his wall and had his family, everything was black and white. But then as soon as he came down to be near that bloody Iron Throne, things get corrupt, things go grey, and then you're like, how do I deal with this? But I think Lyonel was very black and white. He followed the king's orders. He felt very military to me in that way. Like, how I'm sure you have it in military there, but like British Army soldiers, guys who are the officers, they don't ever come across as political. They just follow an order and they'll say, yes, sir, I'll do that. That they see that as their duty. And I think that's how I saw Lyonel. He was just a very straight-laced man, and until his son put him in a very awkward position.
You really gave the character a level of sincerity that I just didn't anticipate. It was the best Hand of the King we've ever seen. Like, where the character was very honest, and I didn't get all that from reading the biased book. It was always said that you're more laid back and with a lot of wits, but it's not as in detail. You really gave the character great side.
But a lot of that comes from the script, though. I mean, I think they realised that they needed a confidant for Lyonel, for Viserys. Viserys has got all of this crap going on. He needs a buffer. He needs somebody he can trust. And Lyonel was that person, because the only other person trusted but had a tempestuous relationship was probably Rhaenyra, and obviously his late wife. And even Rhaenyra was a difficult child to him up until like when I die, and then he finds out. Then he plays a blind eye to what's going on in reality with Harwin. But I think you needed a confidant. You needed somebody else. I think even in Game of Thrones, you always need a character that is good. Somebody. Otherwise, you're just going to watch everybody and think, God, they're all arseholes.
Mm.
Who do I mean, yeah, you can enjoy that as a viewer, like the horrible people of these worlds. But actually, if there's no good at the center of it, and Viserys was the good at the center of it, then you can't see the light and dark. And all of those great sagas have to have a light and dark. And I think on Thrones, Jon Snow ultimately was that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because and I think Lyonel was just like his best mate. I mean, it would have been nice for those 10 years. They probably would have sat and drunk wine together and had a bloody good time.
Would have loved to see it. I was there for it.
So would I. There's a spin-off series, I hope.
Oh yeah. Well, they're working on it right now. You just can't tell.
Yeah. Why don't you work on it and you send it off to HBO?
Okay, well, let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, with every other character, you're constantly wondering what their angle is and what are they trying to achieve. But with Lyonel, it really is. You can tell that he's just after pleasing, not necessarily pleasing, but serving Viserys. And his angle is Viserys's angle.
Exactly.
It's Viserys's best interest is in his mind.
Yeah, and it's interesting because early on, like in episode 1, I made a decision not to trust Otto because I could see straight through him. But we'd also discussed that Lyonel would never say to Viserys, unless he was asked outright, you shouldn't trust this man, because he was so loyal and so honest that he wouldn't be a backstabbing, nasty bastard, because that wasn't his way. I don't think he ever felt he needed to be that way. Yeah.
So from Paul, how did a great man like Lyonel manage to raise someone as awful as Larys?
I've talked about this on a couple of other pods, and I think Matt's talked about it. We discussed that, there was a possibility. We didn't set this in stone, but, we just chatted about it, that maybe Larys's mother had died in childbirth. So Lyonel carried a sort of resentment towards him, so he didn't get as much love as Harwin. Possibly the fact that he had a disability, and we all know that during those periods, and even still, people with disability get treated horrendously. So there was that. He didn't get enough love in that respect, or indeed respect. So I think Lyonel may be a good hand of the king, but not necessarily a brilliant father. I mean, in the book it says he's got a fair few children and been married a few times. Yeah. So he's no perfect man, but I think most of the men back then weren't. That's what's difficult about this world, is how to give women and female characters a decent voice, and I think that's what's great about Dragons. So I think it's really trying to set that balance straight. And I think that's what's quite exciting about it.
The next question comes from Iron Blood. What was your favorite moment on set? Do you have any fond memories regarding the cast?
Oh my God, I've got so many. I love these questions. This is great. I had so many wonderful moments on set with nearly every single person. I think one of my fondest memories is my first day, which I was terrifying, but was being taken around the Red Keep, which they've built at Leavesden Studios, which I said to Ryan Condell, the showrunner, I was like, mate, wouldn't it have been cheaper to buy a castle? Because this is, for all intents and purposes, like usually on a set, you walk up up some steps, you turn right, and then it's like you're at the back of the set. The Red Keep at Leavesden, you walk up the stairs, you turn right, you go into the King's Chamber. You go through the King's Chamber, you go into like a toilet. You go down the toilet, you go down the back passageway. It's a full castle. It is extraordinary. So to walk around that for the first time blew my mind. It was like being at Disney World.
It also helps
so that-
to put your mind into it, right? It's like that. It's really there. It's
yeah, exactly.
crazy.
Especially when you do a wide shot, like they call it dragon cam. So sometimes you've got those shots that are right in the corner of the room, looking down. Let's say the small council table. So you're in the small council chamber, and there'll just be one camera on a crane in the corner, miles away. So you have nobody near you. So for a moment, you're like, oh my God, I'm in Westeros. This is crazy. Getting to ride a horse on camera was pretty special. Working with some of my heroes. Paddy's always been one of my heroes. So getting to do scenes with Paddy one-on-one blew my mind. Matt Smith. I mean, I just had the best time ever. I mean, every day literally was that for me.
Awesome.
I hope that answers the question. But yeah, it was amazing.
This one is from Jesus V. How does Lord Strong compare his job as Hand in comparison to the sleazy Otto Hightower?
Well, I think I kind of answered that. He doesn't. I think the Strong family. I mean, there was a previous Hand of the King in the family, and I think the Hightowers, because Old Town used to be the capital, I believe. I could be wrong there. And I think they have this ridiculous desire that it should be the home of the throne again. It should be where the leader of the king of the realm should be. So they're self-serving, and Lyonel has no aspirations to sit on the Iron Throne. No aspirations whatsoever. Why would you want to sit on the Iron Throne? Ryan Condal put it beautifully. He said that. No, he was talking about dragons, like the Valyrians having dragons. He said that Viserys understood that having a dragon is like having a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
And understood that danger. And I think wanting to sit on the Iron Throne is, I mean, Gavin personally wouldn't. I'm not in a million years. I mean, would you want to sit on the Iron Throne? I've sat on it on set. Great. But in the world of Westeros, sitting on the Iron Throne, who wants to do that? Mad people.
Doesn't even look comfortable. So, I'm good.
No, and as we saw from Paddy, it can cut you.
Yeah. Everyone, when you're sitting on the chair, everyone wants to stab you in the back, even the chair itself.
Yeah, exactly, Josh. Exactly,
really,
mate. Yeah, it's symbolic, and it's its own. I don't think symbolic's the right word, is it? No. Yes, it's its own metaphor, I suppose.
Yeah, throne is rejecting him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost it's that. The next question is from Joshua Medeiros. What was your favorite scene to film?
Probably the one when Viserys is drunk in episode 3. That was quite. Paddy got really emotional in that scene. That was quite a good one to do. My resignation was a good one. The argument I had with Harwin was another good one, because it was the only time you really see Lyonel with any kind of outward passion and aggression. Yeah, so maybe the argument with Harwin, because that was Ryan Corr, who played my son. It was his first day on set. It was his first day's filming. And we had to obviously start the argument ramped up at the top. And so it's always quite a challenge to do that. So I'd probably say that one, probably the argument with Harwin.
This one is from Philip. If you could change or add one scene to the show, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. I would change me burning alive. That's what I would change. And I'd add me coming back with a slightly burnt face.
Quentin.
In series 2. Yeah, quite. Yeah.
The next one is from Soneris. What was your favorite episode of the season? And
8.
8, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, go on. Yeah. What was the rest of the question? Was there anything else to it?
No, we already went over it. What your favorite scene to shoot was, but we just had
that. My favorite episode to watch was probably 8. I mean, I loved 6 because I thought it was like there's so much went on in 6, and I was in it, and it was my last one. And you saw Laris turn into this monster. We always knew he was dark, but I think that's the turning point for Larys on that journey and what's going to happen with him going forward. So I think that's really exciting. But I loved 8. I just think Paddy's performance in 8, from a technical standpoint, to watch another actor doing what he did on screen in episode 8 was just remarkable, and I loved it. And I thought there was some beautiful work from everybody in that, Olivia and Emma. It was beautifully directed. Yeah, I think 8. I thought 8 was really special.
Yeah, that's my favorite one by far. I think it's.
Oh really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's even if you would have put this episode up with all the great episodes of Game of Thrones, early Game of Thrones, it's up there. It's
yeah, great,
crazy.
That's nice to hear.
So this one is from the Dragon Demands. He asked, how many
The Dragon Demands?
Yeah, that's the man.
He's the dude. He knows a lot about this world.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
So how many iron bars did you break on the burning door?
Good question. That's wow. I wonder if he's heard me talk about that, because I think I did talk about that in another podcast.
Probably.
Well, what they gave me initially was a rubber one. So it was banging off the door, and it was just bending in half, so it just looked crap. So they gave me a real fire poker, because they wanted me to try and prise the door open. And obviously we shot much more than what you see in the actual scene. But the set, I can't remember his name. Oh God, Richard, who looks after the set. He was having to come and retouch it, and I said, "I'm really sorry, I'm destroying." He said, "No, you can do anything you want, Gav." And so I really went for it, and I went through 2 rubber ones, and then the metal one I ended up bending twice as well, smacking that door down. But yeah, it was that was quite intense. I had a cold as well, and I had a cough. So every time I was trying to shout Harwin, I couldn't shout. I was just going Harwin.
And the smoke as well. I mean, that's not easy.
Yeah. And you've got to pretend to cough.
Well, yeah.
So
as realism.
But coughing's terrible for your voice, so you lose your voice. But yeah, so I broke a few rubber ones and bent a real metal one. trying to stay alive.
The next question is from Chaircat. Did you take anything from set?
Yes, but I can't tell you what.
Ah, okay.
I didn't take anything. I was gifted something.
Oh, okay.
Very, very nicely. Yeah, and it's a tiny thing. Yeah, it's not like I walked away with the Iron Throne.
Yeah, that's what I would say. What was it like working with Paddy Considine? Is another one from her.
Oh yeah, just the best. Yeah, he's incredible, and he's fun and he's silly, and he's just an amazing actor. So it was great. Yeah, I learned a lot. Yeah, I learned huge amounts from him. And he's always been one of my favourite actors. So to play opposite him was lovely. Yeah, really enjoyable. He's a very generous actor. He's a great listener. I always think with acting, for me, that it's not so much the quality of the speaking, it's often to do with the quality of the listening. You can tell when an actor's really with you just how good at listening they are. And there is a certain quality that, not a specific quality, but there is a quality that actors who are good listeners bring to the work, because you can tell they're listening to you. And that's what good acting is for me.
On that, Paddy does also have a very nice voice. He's a great singer. I do love his music, really.
Do you? Oh, great.
Yeah,
they're really beginning to kick off now, which is great. Like, he's had some really big sort of sold out gigs in the UK, and I mean, he's such an artist. I mean, that the man can write, direct films, and his lyrics and music for some of his music is extraordinary. He's a proper working class poet. He's a real artist, is Paddy. Yeah, I'm a bit in awe of him, really. So when I get a message from Paddy, everything stops. I have to listen. It's like getting a direct line from, like a god.
Oh wow.
This one is from T-Men. Was it difficult for you to put yourself in the mind of Lord Strong?
No, not really. That sounds like a glib answer, but I think when you've been acting a long time, all you do is you just put yourself in somebody else's shoes. If you've done the work on the script, not just learning the lines, but work out your objectives and what you're trying to do. You just, once action happens, we've trained our imaginations so well over a period of time. Some actors, even younger, can just do it at a drop of a hat. Some of the younger guys in our cast. I think, luckily, I think it's different if you're playing a scene when you've got to murder somebody. That's quite extreme. Or if you're in extreme fear, then that takes a different muscle. But most of the time, for somebody like Lyonel, it's okay to just sort of sit in that world, because it's usually to do with giving advice and wanting somebody to do what you think is best. So you can only ever be you sitting in somebody else's shoes. You're never really fully Lyonel Strong, as much as you can try.
The casting directors look for someone who brings the energy already.
That's
they
it.
don't. Yeah, people often assume that every role requires complete transformation, but that's what the casting directors are for: is finding someone who brings the energy already.
That's it, Josh. Exactly. Yeah, and interestingly, like I was wondering what it was about Lyonel Strong that they saw in me, but I think Kate, who knows me, the casting director, just saw me as a very sort of quite honest and open person, and I think that's what she'd keyed into. And then I added on the beard and the deeper voice, slightly more serious, slightly posher and more serious. Everybody has to do a Game of Thrones voice.
Oh
yeah. We only have two more. The next one is from Bazier Strategy, and he wants to know if you read Fire and Blood and know the fate of your house.
Yeah, so I did know this, what was happening. The fate of my house, in terms of what I know is going on with it. Yes, I do know that, because I'd read section. I didn't read the whole book, if I'm honest. I didn't have the time.
Oh, good.
Because when I got offered the job, I'm like, whoa, that's a big book. I struggled to read scripts, let alone 700 pages of dense Westeros world. So I only read stuff really that pertained to Lord Strong and Viserys, and main plot points. Because there was a couple of people involved with the production who were close to George, as Ryan Condal is. They said, "Oh, maybe read this page, that section, this section. This will really help." And I knew there wasn't much about Lyonel in the book anyway, so it wasn't going to give me huge amounts. So no, I didn't read the book, but I did know what was going to happen.
I think also some people often assume that an actor has to read the source material to understand what's going on, but I think that's for the most part, that's what the directors are for, right? I mean, you have the script, the actors read the script, they act the script, and it's the director's responsibility to make sure that it correlates with the source material. So
yeah, I think that's right. Or it deviates from the source material, because all it is an interpretation of. It's like how The Crown. Nobody knows what really happened between Diana and Charles, apart from Diana and Charles. So you're creating something. I mean, I do a lot of theatre, and they're called a play for a reason, because you're playing. This is not real life. The difference is when you are doing something like The Crown and you're playing real people that have existed. That's when the source material, in terms of historical stuff, I personally feel becomes more important. I like to do all that research. I've played some real people in the past, and I like to know as much as I can about them, just because I think that will help the well of experience. If I know that, well, he's done this, or he's done that, or she's done this, or they've done that. But I think in fantasy world, there is more leeway, and we can, like you say, Josh, go heavily on lean into the script and leave it to the writers and directors. Yeah.
Then we only have one last one, and it's an easy one: greens or blacks? And that one.
Oh, yeah, go on.
That one was from Chaircat also.
At least blacks, isn't it? Really. Yeah, I think. Yeah, and I think I probably, as Gavin watching it, would probably be leaning towards the blacks. But as a watcher of a series, I'll probably just sit on the fence and enjoy the fight.
Yeah, that's the correct answer. There's no right or wrong. There are many horrible people there doing horrible stuff.
Exactly. But interestingly, they all believe they are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Whether how perverse or wrong that is, like Alison genuinely believes that he said put Aegon on the throne. And that's how you create a civil war. And I thought that moment was incredibly done. I thought that was really clever.
That's all we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us today. Once again,
you're very welcome.
Big fan of your portrayal of Lord Lyonel Strong. It's been definitely one of the best performances as well. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, that's really kind. Thank you very much. It was nice to meet you both. Good luck with the podcast.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoy the next series. They're not starting filming for a while yet, but you've got a while to wait till the next one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Take care.
Bye.
Take care.
And see you later.
Thanks very much.